Greetings, punks, goths, metalheads, herberts, herbetters, Martians and subterranean folk. How you all doing? My name's John and this is the Health Anarchist channel. Well, I'd like to start off this video and just say a big thank you to all my recent subscribers. I've had quite a few recently, so welcome on board. Well, today I'm going to do a talk video with you, which is about what was it like back in the 80s and 90s when we used to get a lot of abuse off the general public, and what's it like now. So things are a lot better these days, but back in the 80s and 90s it was pretty tough a lot of the time, and I'll just explain a few of the situations what used to happen back then. So I'm going to talk about the late 80s first, which was when I was a teenager. I left school in 1988 at 16. So when I was first into the alternative scene back then, I'll explain what it was like, and it was pretty much the same through the 90s, maybe slightly better, but still pretty harsh even in the 90s. So let's explain the 80s first. Now this may be difficult for some of you to imagine because things are so much better nowadays, but this is definitely what happened back then, and you know, hundreds, thousands of people will tell you the same. So first thing, way back in the 80s, what was very commonplace was people would shout abuse at you if you was dressed different or if you looked different or alternative. So a lot of the time people would shout things like freak, weirdo, but often with swear words as well as, you know, you effing freak or you effing weirdo. So that was very common back then, and you had to develop a hard skin. And at the time it was tough because most of us were teenagers back then, and you're at that age when you're quite sensitive to what other people are saying, but nevertheless you persevere with it and develop a hard skin, or as much as you can. Now the next thing that would happen sometimes back in the 80s is you would be physically attacked just for looking or being different and alternative. You know, usually gangs, they'd gang up and they'd come on you and they'd, you know, you get into a fist fight with them. Now, first couple of times that this happened to me, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fight. I was a young kid, but after a couple of times I thought, I've had enough of this. So I just started fighting back, and once I started fighting back, it seemed to happen less often. And saying that, I didn't want to fight. I hate violence and fighting, but out of necessity I had to learn how to fight a bit. I'm glad it's not like that these days, because no one should have to fight if they don't want to. Now another thing that would happen quite often back then is you'd be thrown out of pubs just for looking different, for being alternative, for being a goth or a punk or whatever. The pubs would refuse to serve you. They'd just say something like, no goths, no punks, finish your drink and go, if you'd already been served. So that was that happened quite a lot, and as a sensitive teenager it hurt quite a lot, that one. It was like I couldn't understand why I wasn't being allowed in the pub just for how I dressed. Luckily it's not like that nowadays, but back then I knew it was wrong. I knew I was being treated in a really bad, wrong way, and it just seemed so wrong that there was nothing I could do about it. You know, gladly it's not like that nowadays, but even back then I think us alternative lot were very progressive in our thinking and the way we were. But yeah, that's how it was. Now unfortunately, another thing that would happen quite often back then is if there was a group of us alternative people, we'd get followed by the police. You know, they'd go really slow following us, seeing what we were doing, and then they'd come back a few minutes later. So you know, that would happen a lot. It doesn't happen now, but back then it happened a lot. And related to that, the security in shops would often follow you around to see if you were shoplifting. I've heard that still happens to some alternative people, but it was very common back then. So far, everything I've talked about was from the perspective of being a male alternative person. If you was a female alternative person back then, you had another layer on top of what I've just talked about, and that was like, you get this sexist type of abuse. You know, if you was a female goth or punk with short skirts and fishnets, you'd get all these lewd comments and people, you know, giving uninvited opinions of you. to be honest with you, thinking about it, it seems really harsh being a female back then. I imagine it was really difficult for them, and they had to be like really tough to, you know, just like plough through it and ignore it all. So that is some of the truth and realities of what it was like being alternative in the late 80s, and that carries across into the 90s. To a lesser degree, not quite as harsh, but it was still pretty bad in the 90s because, you know, I went through those as well, and it was harsh at times. So in a minute I'm going to talk about my experiences of what it's like now. So just before I get on to the next section, I want to talk about a giveaway competition I've got coming up. I'm nearly at 700 subscribers, so as soon as I pass 700 subscribers, I'm going to do a competition giveaway. Now, I was going to design a new hat for me, but I think that's a bit too complex and involved for most people. So it's just going to be a simple competition. It'll be a question which I ask you to answer, and that'll come up in the near future when I run this. And I'll just show you the prizes which I'm going to give away now. I'm going to be giving away 2 pendants that I make, and these are new ones which I've not done a giveaway before, and they're crystal bat pendants, and I'll just show you up close what they're going to be like. So that's one of them, and the other one I'm going to give away is this one, which is crystal pendant, but this is a smoky quartz. And this is going to be the last giveaway I do for a while because I can't keep doing them every 100. So after this one, I'm going to have a pause until I get to 1,000 subs, and then I'll do quite a big competition. So we'll see how it goes. So talking about now, in the present day, things are so much better. You know, it's quite common for people to have coloured hair who aren't alternative, and facial piercings and tattoos. So it's quite accepted nowadays, and I think a lot of it was after the unfortunate Sophie Lancaster incident. The Sophie Trust went round schools, and they've been doing it for years and are still doing it, educating people, you know, and people have grown up with that, and I think that's done so much to, you know, help the fairer treatment of alternative people in society. And it's rare nowadays I get any kind of abuse or prejudice thrown at me, and you know, when I do, I'm 52, I just laugh it off now. It amuses me, and it's usually very mild stuff, but it still does go on, and I'll give you a couple of examples of some recent things which have happened to me. One was when I was just finishing a walk. I was walking past the pub, and there's a group of men outside drinking. They're probably in the 30s or 40s, and just as I walked past them, they shouted, "Emo!" Now, it just made me laugh because, you know, even if I was an emo, which I'm not, the ridiculousness of what they said, it was just bizarre, because that's like, if I was an emo, that would be like shouting, "Taxi driver," you know, at a driver stood outside his Uber car, or shouting, "Nurse," when you're in hospital, when you see a nurse walk past. So yeah, the mind boggles at the idiotic behaviour, but there you go. And another example, which I had recently, I was doing a walk, and again, a few people walked up to me. They was in a walking group, and they were like, "Hi, I like your costume." You know, and this is just my everyday stuff that I wear, so it wasn't super offensive, because I think they actually thought they were saying something nice to me, so it didn't bother me as such, but it was amusing that they'd be like, "It's a nice costume you've got there." You know, the word being costume. So there's a couple of recent examples, and you can see how much milder it is, for me anyway, now compared to back in the day when you get people like physically attacking you. So I'm so glad it's much better now, and especially for the younger alternative generation. I mean, because my daughter's one of those herself, so I'm glad things are better. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you on the next video. Keep yourself very safe now. Take care. Bye.